Every year on my birthday, something unexplainable happens. At exactly 3:27 a.m., I feel my bones snap, my skin twist, and my entire face rearrange into someone new. I've lived with it for 27 years, but this year, I realize the faces I wear aren't random. They belong to the dead. And last night, I woke up with the face of a celebrity who died just hours before. Birthdays used to mean candles, cake, and bad singing. Now, they mean something much darker. I don't blow out wishes anymore, I brace myself. Because the second the clock hits 3:27 a.m., my body betrays me. The cracking starts in my ribs. Then my arms twist out of place, my skin stretches like rubber, and the air fills with the sickening sound of crunching bone. It's not painful anymore, not after decades of this. But the sound, I'll never get used to it. Imagine 100 sticks snapping inside your chest. That's what it feels like. I used to think I was cursed. My mom said it runs in the family, like some messed up birthday tradition. She called it a blessing once, comparing me to a butterfly leaving its cocoon. Cute metaphor until you realize the cocoon leaks blood. For years, I believed these new faces were mine alone. Fresh, untouched, belonging to no one else. But this year, something's different. This year, people keep saying the same thing. You look familiar. My mom said it. My coworker said it. Even strangers on the street stared like they'd seen me before. I brushed it off until I saw the news. A famous model, dead in a car crash at 3:15 a.m. And staring back at me from the screen was her face, my face. That's when I realized the horrifying truth. I've been wearing the faces of the dead. The first time I saw her face, my face, on the news, I thought it had to be a mistake. Some bad angle, a blurry photo, or maybe I just hadn't looked at myself in good lighting yet. But as the anchor replayed the coverage over and over, there was no denying it. The woman who had died in that car crash wasn't just a stranger. She was me. Or rather, I was her. The headline flashed in bold across the screen. Supermodel Megan Rogers dead at 23. Same strong jaw. Same brown eyes. Same slightly crooked incisor. The resemblance wasn't close, it was exact. And that's when the dread settled in. She was right. The thought hadn't crossed my mind until then, but it was obvious. Imagine being caught walking around with the exact face of someone who had died only hours before. The cops wouldn't care about curses or family quirks. They'd want answers. And I had none. The rest of the day blurred together. I pretended to work, shuffled papers, grabbed coffee for Holly, but my mind wasn't on PR reports or caramel fraps. It was on the dozens of faces I'd worn before. The girl with the soft cheeks when I was 16. The tall frame and wide shoulders at 19. The delicate features when I turned 21. How many of them belonged to people who had died? I remembered the gasps from strangers, the double takes, the whispers I could never quite catch. Suddenly they all made sense. I wasn't just different. I was familiar because they'd seen those faces before, at funerals, on the news, in obituaries. My stomach churned. By the time I got home, night had already fallen. The plastic sheet from last night was still crumpled at the foot of my bed, and for a second, I just stared at it. My whole life had been a cycle of breaking bones and waking up as someone else. It was awful, but I'd learned to accept it. Now it felt sinister. I sat on the edge of my bed, scrolling through article after article on Megan Rogers. Her Instagram was filled with glamorous shots, red carpets, magazine covers, selfies with friends. Each picture made me flinch. It was like looking at myself through a different lens. The comments under her last post were filled with shock and heartbreak. Rest in peace, Angel. You were taken too soon. Heaven gained another star. And here I was, scrolling through them with her face. My face. I felt like an imposter. Like a thief. That night, I barely slept. My mind replayed the sound of cracking bones, the shifting of my skin, the moment I'd looked in the mirror and seen a stranger. Except she wasn't a stranger anymore. She was Megan. By morning, I was more exhausted than ever. My job felt impossible, so I called in sick. Lucy didn't argue. I think she was scared to have me around. Instead, I locked myself in my apartment and pulled out old photos. Not of me, but of past me's. I'd always kept them in a shoebox under my bed, snapshots of each year to remind myself that I was still me, even if my reflection said otherwise. But now, as I sifted through them, I felt cold. What if these weren't just random faces? What if I could match every single one to a dead person? The thought made my stomach twist. I shoved the photos back in a box, slammed the lid shut, and shoved it under the bed. But denial only lasts so long. The knock at my door came around noon. Sharp, loud, insistent. I froze. Nobody visited me. Nobody could visit me, not without getting confused or suspicious about my ever-changing face. When I finally cracked the door open, 2 men in dark suits stood in the hallway. Their badges flashed before my eyes. Detectives. My pulse spiked. "Janice Rivera?" one of them asked. "Yes." My voice shook despite my best effort. "We'd like to ask you a few questions about Megan Rogers." My throat went dry. They knew. Somehow, they knew. I let them in, heart pounding in my chest like a drum. They sat across from me at the kitchen table, eyes scanning every inch of my face. "You look remarkably like her," one of them said. His tone wasn't casual, it was accusatory. "I get that a lot," I muttered. "When did you last see Megan Rogers?" "I've never seen her. Not in person." The detectives exchanged a glance. One of them scribbled something in a notebook. "Funny," the other said. "Because according to eyewitnesses, someone looking exactly like you was seen near the crash site." My blood ran cold. "That's impossible." "Is it?" His eyes narrowed. I wanted to scream the truth, that my face changes every year, that I'd woken up looking like Megan purely by chance. But who would believe me? To anyone else, it would sound insane. So I did what I always did. I lied. "You must be mistaken," I said. I was home. Alone. They didn't look convinced. They left after a few more questions, but not without leaving me a card. "If you remember anything," one of them said, "call us." When the door shut, I collapsed against it, trembling. If the police were already suspicious, it was only a matter of time before things got worse. That night, I couldn't stay still. I kept pacing, staring into the mirror, tracing Megan's cheekbones with my fingertips. Her lips, her jaw, her nose. All mine now. I wondered, how long before someone recognized me again? How long before the world stopped seeing me and only saw her? And then the thought came, a horrifying thought. If every face I wore belonged to someone dead, what if I wasn't just changing? What if I was taking their place? What if my new life came at the cost of theirs? I didn't want to believe it. But the evidence was piling up. The familiar looks. The whispers. The way strangers sometimes stared at me like they'd seen a ghost. And now Megan. The realization hit me so hard I almost fell. My birthdays weren't just transformations. They were executions. For every face I gained, a life was lost. Which meant that in some twisted way, I was a killer. The days blurred together after that. I couldn't focus on work, couldn't answer calls from my mom, couldn't even leave my apartment without paranoia clawing at my chest. Every time I passed a mirror, Megan's face looked back at me, accusing. "Why me?" I whispered one night. "Why you?" But the reflection never answered. It's been a week since then, and I've done nothing but dig. News reports, obituaries, missing persons. And sure enough, with each old photo of mine, I've found a match. A college student killed in a boating accident. A man crushed in a construction site collapse. A woman who died of sudden illness. Every year, every face, all dead. I used to think I was cursed with constant rebirth. Now I know the truth. I'm cursed with theft. Because on the day I was born, something tied me to death itself. Every year, when the clock strikes 3:27, I don't just change. I inherit. I inherit the face of the newly dead. And now, with my birthday fresh behind me, I live with Megan Rogers' stolen face. The world mourns her. Fans cry for her. Her family buries her. And yet, when I pass by a mirror, she stares back at me. I can't escape it. I can't stop it. And in 11 months, at 3:27 a.m., I'll shed this face for another. Who will it be? I don't know. But somewhere out there, someone's already living their last year. And when their time comes, their face will become mine.